Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we are discussing police and what happens when police commit assaults and sexual assaults and how that investigation process works. Now, Daphne, in the last segment, I brought up the watchdog report from Newfoundland that found that the police internal investigation of complaints against some officers there had resulted in, informal consequences for an officer who potentially or allegedly had committed a criminal sexual assault. How do we have confidence in a system where police investigate other police in matters of sexual assault or misconduct?
Well, it's certainly really problematic, and Newfoundland is a great example of that, where the women who have come forward after the Snellgrove case was made public have all filed civil suits against the police officers in question and the police force because they don't trust the criminal justice system to handle their complaints appropriately. And we have civilian oversight in some in our provinces and federally of police forces, but there's problems with that civilian oversight. A lot of the civilians that are attached to those oversight commissions are actually former officers. They're the ones who have the training, it's true, but they're also conflicted in the fact that they were former officers. There's also a lack of resources and a lack of meaningful ability to have to get disclosure from the police and to have access to all of the information about the case. It's highly problematic to have police investigate themselves, but we don't have a lot of great options.
Rachel, anything to add there? And in particular, what does it mean for public trust? Police depend on public trust. We need to be able to trust our police in order for police to do their jobs of protecting their communities. What does it mean if we don't have faith in the system that investigates police when there is misconduct?
Yeah, really these situations like this remind me of when there's, let's say, a shooting and a civilian is shot by a police officer and they bring in a very specialized investigative unit that is their only job is just to investigate police officers with misconduct. And so I'm not very well briefed on how it works in Newfoundland and if it's just the regular police officers that are investigating these other police officers. But I think that there does need to be very specialized units where their only job is to investigate other police officers and they're not involved with the regular force. These are not people that they're interacting with on a daily basis. These are not people that they feel some kind of camaraderie with. And there needs to be a very serious separation between the people investigating and who they're investigating. And the job of the people investigating officers charged with sexual assault needs to be very separate and specialized.
Now, there is some data that we have on conviction rates for allegations of police who have committed assaults or sexual assaults across all areas of the Special Investigation Unit, which is the unit that investigates police. There's a University of Guelph study that found 30% of charges were withdrawn by the Crown or by the prosecutors. And of those that proceeded to trial, 30% were acquitted. And for the most part, the sentence there was an absolute or conditional discharge, which is basically the most lenient sentence you can get. And the conviction rate is particularly low, or maybe you can tell me if it's low, for sexual assault cases. This Guelph study found that between 2005 and 2020, 1.59 or 1.6% of charges led to an eventual conviction and sentence for sexual assault. Daphne, what does that data tell you about the effectiveness of prosecuting police for sexual assault when that has happened, or some of the challenges involved?
That data tracks pretty closely to what we know about conviction rates overall for sexual assault, which are abysmally low. The sort of standard statistics indicate that about 3 in every 100 sexual assaults actually makes its way to a trial and results in a conviction, which is an incredibly low percentage. And so, it does tell us that police officers are being handled in some respects in the same way that all sexual assault defendants are handled, which is with kid gloves and often getting away with their crime. I think, when it comes to public accountability and trust, one of the issues is the lack of disclosure by police forces of members that have been charged. And so we don't have a lot of transparency in the way that we might wish in terms of understanding the depth of the problem within the force. I think it's also really telling that even after Snellgrove was convicted and it was an abuse of authority,
Right.
there was no training.